I'd start off with, if you do happen to go across to LinkedIn, as I know many of you do, following these sessions and check out the various presenters, please don't be confused by some videos that you might see that I've posted on technology from 30 plus years ago. I can assure you that's all being done for a good cause. Not really my focus of expertise and where I've been focused for the last 20 years. Where I have been focused is on engagement and helping organisations determine what is the optimal engagement they can have with their prospects and customers that will deliver the best business outcome. And that's really where I've been focused for the last 20 years and where I want to spend some of the time today talking to you about what I see as being successful. Now, you might expect that coming from Adobe and coming from a vendor that I'm going to talk primarily about the technology. But in actual fact, really in reference to and to expand upon what Nick Flood just spoke about, it's really a combination of these three things in equal parts. Technology is absolutely important, and I'll talk about the critical elements there in a moment, but it's also about what are the right people with the right skills and how do you make sure the processes and the organisational processes are all aligned to maximise the value of that technology. So I'm going to talk about each of these three things, but I am going to talk about technology first. So what is it about marketing automation and what are the critical capabilities that set a top tier, and as Nick talks about, an enterprise grade marketing automation platform apart? And it's really these three key elements: personalization at scale, agility and speed of execution, and then measurement. Am I being successful? So to drill into these in a little more detail, I am going to use the analogy of photography. I'm an amateur photographer. In fact, when I first learned photography, it was on a traditional film SLR, which was really quite challenging. Now, today, we're very fortunate in that technology has advanced massively, and we all have at our disposal point-and-click cameras, or in actual fact, most typically, a camera embedded into our mobile phone. And that has made pretty good photography accessible to everyone within these modern devices. And so you can quickly point and shoot, take a snap, and get pretty good quality photos. The challenge is when you get into situations that go beyond the capability of what a simple camera can do embedded in our phone. Low light situations, nighttime, sunrise, sunset. Now, these situations often, when you are able to take advantage of them, you can deliver or yield the best outcomes, the most amazing photos. But it's really beyond the capability of that simple tool. And so that's where you would need a digital SLR. Now, digital photography and digital SLRs has benefited from the simplicity that's embedded in these devices. So the modern digital SLR makes it easy to do the simple things. But when you need to do something that's a little bit more sophisticated, there's no ceiling. And marketing automation is exactly the same. So in these three areas, personalization at scale, firstly, what is the key differentiation points? Number one, it's can you actually ingest and utilize all the data at your disposal? And that is demographic behavior, firmographic behavior, and then behavioral data. Can you actually bring all those data sets together and utilize that to deliver a personalized customer engagement or prospect engagement and do that at scale, i.e. in a very automated fashion? And that's where you can start to see some ceilings with some of those cheaper tools that Nick alluded to. But a top tier tool is able to allow you to ingest that data and utilize it and personalize. And importantly, the last element is you don't need to be able to write code. So you don't need to be a technical person. It actually gives you the ability, takes advantage of the simplicity of that, in example, point and shoot camera, but gives you the sophistication to be able to personalize at scale. Now, number two is agility and speed of execution. So quality is incredibly important. And quality, when I think about quality of engagement with a prospect, means really highly personalized, delivering the right message at the right time in the right channel. That's critically important. But we also know that volume is important. We need to be able to replicate and deliver an increased amount of engagements that deliver on that high quality. And the best way to do that is you take something that's working and you replicate it. And this is where agility and speed of execution really gets differentiated in the top tier tool like Marketo. Are you able to replicate? Now, there's a big difference between copying and cloning. Copying, you can copy something that works, but it still requires someone to go in and manually make a whole bunch of updates to ensure that it's actually going to be aligned. Cloning means that I can replicate it, and all the necessary elements that can change are variables, and so they'll change and they'll now represent the new campaign and the new execution that I'm making. The difference is I can literally replicate a working campaign, make a new one, and have it running in under an hour compared to days or even weeks. So I can really shorten the time, give my team a lot more agility. That's number two. And then the final one is measurement. Really coming back to what Nick was talking about, am I aligned to what the business sees as success as far as what marketing is delivering for the business? So part of this is about alignment, and it's about having alignment of processes and aligning to the same KPIs. But that's also critically about being able to extract the data and represent it in a way that is aligned to those key KPIs. So these are really the top three elements that I see, and in my experience working with literally hundreds of customers, the key things that differentiate them and allow them to take advantage of marketing automation technology to deliver the best business outcomes. Now, beyond the technology, onto the other two elements, people and process. The recently released Gartner report, so the lovely Gartner Magic Quadrant, this one for CRM lead management, and they evaluate a whole range of different criteria in terms of assessing different vendors. One of those critical elements is ability to execute. And critically, components that comprise that are beyond the technology, right? So these are things that are really about the supporting people that vendor provides to ensure that when Nick and Secure Code Warrior get started, there is expertise that can support them so that they can maximise and indeed get set up in the right way to ensure that they're going to maximise the value that they can derive from Marketo. So the key things that Gartner assesses are the consultant skill. Is there an ecosystem of partners that can also be relied on that have similar skills? What is the technical support like? How effective are they? How knowledgeable are they? Are they onshore? All these things that provide the highest level of support when you really need it. And then lastly, and most importantly, is there a community of like-minded people or customers that are already also out there? So then you've covered really everything that you can get support from a vendor, an ecosystem of partners, and then are there other customers and user groups that you can collaborate and get answers to? And all of those things contribute to ensuring that you are able to get the right support from the vendor perspective. So just recapping quickly, the things that really determine whether you have the right partnership are ensuring that you are covering off in equal proportions the people, process and technology, and ensuring that you're going to be successful. Now, the next section, I would like to pose a question. Now, we'll come back and we'll review the answers that we get to this, but if you can post your answers into the group chat. And so the question is, what are some of the roadblocks as you consider marketing automation solutions? So what are some of the challenges that you might be facing in terms of moving this forward and bringing in a new capability that is enterprise grade and at the top tier? So if you can post those answers in the group chat, and then we'll come back to those once we have our coffee chat. Now, while we're doing that, and while you're posing some of those answers, I'm going to give you an example of an organisation that I've worked with. Now, Literacy Planet, they actually made the decision, and this was a year and a half ago now. They were an existing Marketo customer, and they decided that they were going to move away to an alternate platform. So this is one of the things that Nick referred to is, you want to avoid doing this. Now, fortunately for them, they realised in very short order that actually that was the wrong decision. And so within 6 months, they came back to Marketo. And I want to talk about a little bit why they did that, and what was in their minds and what was the critical elements that meant that Literacy Planet needed to come back to Marketo. The first of these is they have a business with multiple personas, and each persona needs to be treated differently. So it needs personalization. They need to be able to segment those different audiences. They need to be able to score them, so use that data and apply lead scoring differently depending on those personas. And so what that speaks to is that's at the top tier. Now you're in digital SLR camera mode, right? I need to be able to ingest all that data and then create the right business rules so that I can personalize the engagement at scale, so automated, to all those different personas. And they found that Marketo was the only solution that was allowing or would allow them to do that. And importantly, lastly, without having to write code. So they can still do that with the flexibility and agility that the marketing team needed. Now, speaking of agility, this was the second key thing. Now, in their words, and this is a published case study that they've said, they could literally come up with an idea in the morning and have the campaign live in the afternoon. And they wouldn't, of course, they're not doing that from scratch. That would be quite difficult, but this is where they're using one of those key techniques and those key capabilities that I talked about, the ability to clone something that's worked and then using tokens or variables to ensure that they can substitute the value so that their new campaign is up and running and ready to be delivering value by the afternoon. Now, in terms of measurement of results, so what sort of results have Literacy Planet seen? Well, you can see some of those examples on the slide there. So in terms of their first quarter target, they were able to overachieve those by 220%. And this speaks to alignment to the sales team, increase and overachieve their opportunity targets by 180%. And that led to 150% increase in revenue against their objective in their fourth quarter, which was end of June 2020. Lots of key metrics that demonstrate Literacy Planet being able to achieve these benefits, and they also believe and have demonstrated that it has enabled them to adapt to the market conditions. So the current situation that we all find ourselves in terms of COVID has meant that Literacy Planet's been one of those organisations that had to adapt, and they've been able to do that through the flexibility of Marketo.
We're marketers. Marketing should be aligned to the business. So I don't want to hear anybody that says, marketing is just colouring in. That's a joke that I trot out at many of my team meetings. But marketing in the modern era is all about an alignment to the business. And as a CMO, that's what I'm trying to elevate my team to recognise, that in this modern world, a world of digital consumption, a world of non-traditional buying, you also need to be non-traditional in terms of that marketing stack that you're building. So again, technology is one piece, business alignment is the second piece, but you've also got to have staff who get where you're going and are really excited to drive their change as marketers or marketeers. And again, I often say that when we're looking at revenue growth for the business, sales are doing that in a salesy way, marketing are doing that in a markety way, and our customer success team do that in a customer successy way. So it was very critical as a new leader coming into an organization to set a picture that said marketing will be an engine for qualified pipeline growth. When I talk to the business, when I sit as part of the executive team, they're not interested in the number of clicks and the number of downloads and, us congratulating ourselves because we've got a 0.3% open rate on an email blast. When we talk internally, absolutely, I want the best marketing experience that we can for my team. I want everybody to be on top of their game. But at the business level, you need to talk in the words that the business use. And that business at us is looking at your pipeline, looking at your opportunities, and then looking at that flow through the funnel towards a closed won opportunity. And of course, there is metrics and things that we would use and metrics that we would talk about, but that's not really something that, as a senior marketer, you want to be talking to the rest of the business. So use the language of the rest of the business and define a lead. So just have a simple conversation with your sales team to say, what is a lead? When would you like to see the lead? And teach them how to react and interpret the leads that you're kind of giving them. So that leads me into that position there, creating new goals to support sales. We knew that we had different buyers. We knew that they interacted with us in a different way. We knew that the sales cycle happened at different cadences depending on who that audience was. So it was very much around, again, relating this back to this marketing automation platform. If you can go through the understanding of why you want the platform to do what you want it to do, it's an easier decision to then push that upwards into the business to get support to then say, I'm doing this to drive a fundamental change to our business. And fundamentally, that is going to change because I'm going to see an uptick in pipeline generation. I'm going to have an easier time when sales and marketing interact with each other. We're going to see an increase in velocity of opportunities that were marketing sourced through the sales engine, as opposed to potentially leads that weren't marketing sourced progressing through the sales engine. So there's a number of metrics and there's a number of things that you should be able to articulate as a CMO when you're trying to go up and get success across the business. So how do we go about it? There's a couple of kind of key players at the within the marketing automation kind of world, and as was noted earlier, then Adobe continues to shine in terms of that kind of top right-hand side of all of those quadrants. What I wanted an enterprise-grade platform. As a startup, it's very easy to kind of go, well, let's go with the cheapest option. However, that's not always the best option to provide us with that growth. You don't want to go chopping and changing your automation platform every kind of 2 years, because you're going to be building your organization around that. So get it bedded in, get it connected to your sales organization, understand the touch points, and then do that once. So go with that enterprise grade kind of platform. So what we did is we looked at a couple of the market players. We dismissed a few that weren't quite up to kind of scratch from an enterprise perspective. And then I worked with my marketing automation manager to really go through and define what success looked like for us, and then give us some shortlist. And we work with both Adobe and others to give the team a view of what it might look like. It really made a big difference to us to actually go through and do some trial runs with the software. So running a trial or a proof of concept, actually getting hands-on, because my marketeers are on this platform every day and it needs to work. I want them to be excellent at Marketo. I want them to be building marketing automation platform programs and nurture programs that are award-winning. That's the challenge to them, is go and win an award for what you've done. So we shortlisted with the MarTech managers. I'd say you don't have to have somebody that is classified as a MarTech manager. It helps you. You do need, because of the rise of all of the digital interaction that happens with your prospects versus your users, it does make sense to have somebody who knows how to knit technology together, either the Marketo into your Salesforce automation platform. That's a key one. So who is going to do that? Obviously, Adobe has some wonderful CS people who can help you with that implementation, but you want to drive that on a daily basis. Other things, I wanted to build Marketo as the center of our marketing automation universe. So I'm now looking at different platforms and different systems that can bolt into it and add to our lead progression and add to our lead management, as well as then not breaking that connectivity into the sales machine, and also vice versa. So not impossible to do this without a MarTech manager, but it does help moving forward. From a budget perspective, this is a biggie. If you want to go down the cheap and cheerful path, there are options for that, but I wouldn't recommend that. You want to go and paint the picture of how you're going to do what you're going to do. If you're aligning that to the benefit of the organization, if you're bringing your sales VP with you or your sales leader going, look, we can do this together. We can create an engine for pipeline growth. And again, that was my team's kind of mantra, create that engine for qualified pipeline growth. You're going to give a better outcome to your prospects. You're going to enable you to interact with your customers far more effectively by having a platform that can do this at scale. Then the budget conversation becomes easier, because you're talking in terms of the business rather than saying, here's a shiny thing that we're going to get and it's going to solve all our problems.
Yeah. I like what you said in your talk earlier as well, is looking at your automation investment as being the center of that universe of technology you're building out, that constellation of technology that's going to plug into, and then how do you wrap your people, process, and technology, so again, couldn't agree more on that, in terms of past experiences in that respect. Again, I still see the same mistakes though being made with technology, and it is approached like a diet pill. It's like, oh, I need the technology to solve X. I've got X problem. I need a piece of technology to solve that. But they really don't put the effort in to understand what is the root cause of the problem. Often they're treating a symptom and then not understanding how's the technology ultimately going to, work in really driving that change. And how is it going to work with the other technologies you've got in place? So again, Nick, I think, your relationship with IT has got to be quite critical and quite important part of that journey, not just sales. It's also IT, because you are going to plug your technology into other tech, marketing automation, into other technology. So is that something you've worked on, and you consider your IT department a business partner in that respect?
I guess not as traditionally as they have been, because, we're all cloud-based. So there's a lot of that stuff. So a lot is the security is there, and, there's a technology, single sign-on. So basically we have one authenticated log on, and then everything from there is nicely secure as we go out. And being a cybersecurity company, then security is kind of quite critical. But essentially, Marketo as a platform works well, just browser. That's what it's designed to do. So there's less impact to that traditional piece. But I do recognize that I have a MarTech manager as a function, as a role within my team, and then she is doing a lot of that interaction into vendors and connectivity and all of that, the connection there. So in the absence of that, then yes, you would have a very tight connection into your IT department. When you also then start to look at the scope of kind of MarTech, Scott Brinker runs the MarTech 5000, which is now the MarTech 8000. There's 8,000 plus vendors that are all out there going, hey, we can help you on your marketing journey. So it's really easy to be dazzled by all that shiny stuff and a new website and lovely mobile app and all those kind of things. But again, ground yourself into the business. What are you trying to achieve? If you can't articulate that, you're going to need to articulate that anyway when you go and brief the vendor. So how do you decide what the vendor's going to do if you don't know yourself? So there is no magic, there is no magic kind of pill that you can take to go, let me pick randomly these things and all of my problems will be solved. Understand your business, then choose the technology that's going to make that process better. And hopefully then you can kind of navigate yourself through that 8,000, or it's probably now 10,000.
It's ever growing, but it is a problem. I mean, it is one of the big challenges, I think, for marketing. If I look at the different business units or functions that sit across an organization, it is one of the most siloed historically I've seen. You've got all these different, whether it's direct marketing, channel marketing, your social listening. So it is one of the big challenges I think that's faced CMOs. How do they remove those silos, and how do they collapse that data that's being captured in these different silos and harness that with the broader data sets that are out there?